Hi, this is Amber Getz with my video assignment for AEP 855 Educational Leadership. My video today is going to explain what an inclusive leader is, how to be an inclusive leader, and what will happen if a leader is not inclusive. I will also discuss ways that I will use inclusive leadership in my own classroom and teaching, as well as discuss challenges associated with being an inclusive leader. First, I've included a couple of quotes describing an inclusive leader. My first source I found was an article written by the company Deloitte. Deloitte provides audit, tax, and consulting services to both public and private clients. This article explores inclusive leadership by gaining insights from 6 global leaders who come from a variety of backgrounds on leadership skills. An inclusive leader is someone who seeks out diverse perspectives to ensure that insights are profound and decisions robust. It is someone who reaches out to understand each person's unique perspectives and capabilities, going beyond prominent characteristics or job roles, and it is someone who demonstrates respect and value by seeing the world from the other person's point of view without judgment. Leaders first must open their field of vision. In order to do this, they must be aware of their individual biases because these will limit their ability to make fair and objective decisions. The article discussed how each of us have mental buckets that we have created in our mind to help us categorize information. When we meet someone new, we make assumptions by placing them in one of the buckets. However, each bucket is filled with generalizations and stereotypes. In return, we usually connect with others who are similar to us and not with those who are different. Leaders must work to self-correct these and minimize these biases. However, first leaders must become aware of them. One way that we can do this is by taking the Harvard's Implicit Association test. This helps leaders identify their unconscious learned patterns of association relating to race, gender, age, and political beliefs. It helps leaders identify what assumptions they might make and preferences they might have. Leaders must also welcome diverse points of view. The Deloitte article explained that leaders must be curious about each other's perspectives. It does not matter what a person's job role is. Leaders seek opinions because they realize that others have a lot that they can bring to the job and organization. Dr. Don Casey in the article explained that you have to seek the talent in front of you and actively search for those skills within your employees. She explained that when she first starts at a job or on a project, she asks people to tell them their stories and their skills because she explains to them that they might need those skills later down the road. Another thing that leaders must do is to create an inclusive team where everyone is heard and diverse viewpoints are valued. Leaders value viewpoints that are different from their own views. It is critical that leaders role model this inclusive behavior so that other employees hopefully follow it. To create this inclusive team, leaders must also set clear team goals and use group incentives to motivate their employees. The leader needs to work with the group to create a safe environment where they will not be rejected, embarrassed, or punished for speaking up. In return, the group will develop empathy, trust, and collaboration among one another. Additionally, the leader needs to ensure that his or her team is diverse with a range of ages, nationalities, and ethnicities. In order for a whole organization or school to be inclusive, all aspects of that organization must support and value diversity. For example, this would include recruitment of employees, professional development, performance and rewards, the work environment, the leadership within the organization, how the organization is governed or run, the organization's vision, and the daily operations. My second source I found was a video produced about the company Weyerhaeuser. The company is one of the world's largest private owners of timberlands. It owns and controls more than 6 million acres in the U.S. and manages another 14 million acres in Canada. The company also manufactures wood fiber products. This video that I watched interviewed a variety of employees in all different roles within the organization to get their views on inclusive leadership. I thought it was a good representation of inclusive leadership because they include a variety of viewpoints. We heard from employees, managers, as well as the CEO of the company as they discussed and answered questions relating to inclusive leadership. The president and CEO, Dan Fulton, discussed how inclusion is key to success. He believes that they must recruit, retain, and energize diverse groups of employees by valuing their unique contributions and acting on it. The first question that they asked their employees was, what does inclusive leadership mean to you? And here on the slide you can see some of their answers. They said that it means respect for others' points of view. It means that everyone is feeling valued. Better decisions are made. Trust was developed through open communication. Employees' voices are being heard. Employees feel empowered. Employees are treated the same but are appreciated for their differences. In the video, employees were also asked to comment on what happens when leaders are not inclusive. And the answers to this question included that people checking out of their job, becoming detached and looking for a new job. Communication was lacking. Leaders were commanding and controlling. Morale was affected. Employees did not feel empowered, and there was a lack of diverse ideas. There was a large disconnect and distrust between employees and managers, and the employees did not feel comfortable approaching their supervisors. There was less motivation as well as less desirable outcomes. In the video, we also heard opinions of what inclusive leaders do. These leaders are ones that make you passionate about your job, keep you focused, take time to reach out to those on the team, encourage people to share ideas, suggestions, and recommendations, turn ownership over to the team, create passion, and value you as an employee but also as a person. At the end of the video, Dan Fulton, the president and CEO, made a very strong point. He said that diversity is critical. However, diversity by itself is not going to enable us to accomplish our goals. We need leadership that values this diversity and creates environments where we respect and value every person in the organization. He believes that both leaders and employees need to be held equally accountable for respecting each other, listening to each other, and valuing inclusiveness, because this is key to any organization's success. This coming year, I'm going to be teaching kindergarten, and I'm currently working on my Master's of Science Reading Specialist degree. From this course, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I can incorporate what I've learned into my own classroom and teaching. And one thing I can do is to model for my students, which ties to the practice of modeling the way. I want to be a positive role model for my students and realize that the way I behave impacts what happens in my classroom. I will model how to be inclusive. One of my past coworkers and I used to team teach lessons throughout the year so that our students could see us working together and accepting each other's ideas. This was a very strong thing that we did in our classroom, and it really helped our students grow. I also know that I will develop a shared vision with my students, which ties to the second practice of leadership of inspiring a shared vision. I plan to have my students work together at the beginning of the year to create a mission statement for our classroom as well as the classroom rules. I think it's important for students to be involved in this process so that they take ownership in these things. At the end of these activities, I always have my students sign their names so that they realize that they were a part of the process and that their suggestions were valued, heard, and incorporated. In order to challenge my teaching processes, I am going to be more willing to take risk. This ties to the third leadership practice of challenging the process. I think that many times throughout the school year, I get set in my ways of teaching things certain ways, and if something is working, then I continue to use this strategy. I need to be more open to taking risks and trying newly researched strategies to see if they are successful with my students. I also need to get to know each of my students and understand how they learn best to be sure I am addressing their learning style. I also work to enable my students to act, which ties to the fourth leadership practice. I want my students to be active in their learning instead of sitting back and watching me teach. I'm going to create an environment in my kindergarten classroom where my students can collaborate on different topics as well as work together in groups to accomplish something. I plan to have sinners several times a week so that they can work together. The last leadership practice is encouraging the heart. In my classroom, I'm going to spend the first few weeks getting to know each of my students so that I know their learning style as well as how they like to be recognized. I need to make sure that my students continually know that I am proud of their accomplishments and efforts and appreciate all of their hard work throughout the year. There are some challenges of being an inclusive leader. These challenges can be viewed within the workforce as well as within our schools. The first challenge relates to when a leader is creating an inclusive team and people are working cooperatively together. This challenge is called the first speaker advantage, which deals with the first speaker in a meeting or group setting the tone and flow of the meeting. Other group members' views are then influenced by this speaker. In schools, this happens all the time when usually a student or two leads the conversation or is always trying to answer the question. Another challenge is that when working in an inclusive group, there is usually one person who controls the group. This is usually the loudest or most assertive person. A third challenge is that that when students are working together in a group, they usually agree on a single point of view. In this case, many people just, kind of give up and just go along with the majority of the group. And then in return, not everyone's voices are heard. Another challenge is that within groups or meetings, sometimes people or students do not work cooperatively together. And so as leaders, we must develop strategies and team building exercises to help these team members work together. As far as a challenge for the individual inclusive leader, he or she must work on overcoming their individual biases as discussed earlier relating to race, class, gender, etc. Here's a list of my references. You can see the Deloitte article and the YouTube video that I watched, as well as the textbook, The Leadership Challenge. Thanks for watching my presentation. Have a great day.